Hello, and welcome to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today we have a very interesting guest joining us who has traveled across the United States, including Hawaii, to critique restaurants. He has a blog online that he talks about his adventures and the over 400 restaurants that he's visited. So please welcome to the show, Bill Grella. So
thank you.
How are you doing?
Good, good.
So tell us how you got started in doing these adventures.
Well, I go almost exclusively to restaurants that are featured on the Food Network TV show called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Okay. It's hosted by Guy Fieri. I think its first episode was in 2007. I remember when they promoted it, I didn't watch it immediately. Mm-hmm. I work a job that I'm always up early, so I don't watch stuff late at night. But when I was off, they would show it during the day, and I started watching it. And I'm like, he's going to some really cool places, and I'd like to go try them out. So my first stop was on Memorial Day of 2008.
Okay.
At a place in Richmond called the Village Cafe, and it's right near or on the Virginia Commonwealth University campus. And all I remember about that it was my very first one. And I think that they still allowed smoking in restaurants at the time, and it's a campus joint. So what I remember the most is the smell, the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
The smoke. But had a good time there. Me and my buddy, who I travel with a lot, we like to go to minor league baseball games, and so we were in Richmond for that. So jump a couple of months on vacation with my brother and his family, and I got there a few hours before into Miami. So there's about 4 or 5 places in Miami, and the third place that I went to, and it really sort of made a difference in my travels. It's called Scullys Tavern. It's in south of the airport in Miami, South Miami. And I went in there. It's sort of dark and dank. The show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and he does go to diners, drive-ins, and dives. And Scullys was very interesting because it was like a biker bar. And so I went in there and sat at the bar, and a lot of tattoos on the workers, and it was like I'm not really that type of person, so I was like a little worried, but they were the nicest people, and so I said, oh, I'd like to meet Chris. Chris is the owner there, and he has also been on. Guy has a new show called Guy's Grocery Games, and he's had some Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives chefs on that show, or I'll refer to it as Triple D. That's how we refer to the show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives as Triple D. And he came out and met him. Real nice guy.
Now, did you start blogging about these when, your first restaurant, or
no? It took a while. I was doing a lot of traveling, just going around, keeping the list up, going to a few places here and there.
Okay.
And
so you just wanted to just do what he was doing,
just going around and try him out. I would always tell people. I'd always tell the staff that I was there from the show. Okay. And so when Chris came out and met him, and he said. When I told him I was there, he said, "God bless the Food Network." And this was in July of 2008. Now he now has the show now has 3 companion books, and the first one came out in November of 2008. So I didn't have the book then. I went back to Miami in January of the next year, and Chris's picture's in the book. So I brought it, and. I don't know how the inspiration that came to me, but it's like his picture's in there. Maybe I'll get him to sign the picture. And so he came out and signed it. It was packed that night. This bar is really interesting because they have really gourmet food. I mean, how many biker bars have escargot as on their menu? And just really nice people. Him and his wife run the place, and so that's how one of the. That sort of became an inspiration in going to places and getting the book signed, and so he now has three books that Diners, Drive-Ins, Dives, more Diners, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and even more Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
And those would be these
yeah,
books
these
right
are the
here.
3 books, and this is the first book. And so when I go around, I get signatures from the different places. You'll see there's all.
Probably want to hold that up so they can see.
The books books are signed, and what's interesting is most places, like, they really get a kick out of it. Some places are really, really like, why am I doing this? And some places are just so busy that I can't get that done. But yeah, there's been a couple places that did want to sign. So I'm like, oh, whatever. So I don't understand why, you know. But
and are they listed in the books?
Yeah, some are.
They were on the show.
The books have in the back have a listing of all the places that were on the show when this was printed. So I've been to a lot of places that aren't on these books because their shows came out. So I just write them in the back. So I've got and I keep a log. So I just passed my 400th in January.
Oh wow!
A place in Baltimore, but Scullys Tavern is definitely a place that I like to go to. I've only been there twice, but it was an inspiration for me. So and then later in 2009 is when I really started, you know, going and knocking them out. I'd been going to places. I'd been like in about 69, 70 places, and they showed an episode where they showed this older couple who had just got to their 100th, and
so this guy and you are not the only ones to do this. There are a lot of other people that travel to these restaurants to like check them out. Okay.
I don't know, you know, how many people have gotten to as many as I have, but there are people all over the country that do this. And interesting that you asked, because when I went to Scullys and I talked to the guy that served me, the bartender, I asked him, "Were you here?" And this is what I normally ask this question a lot. Were you here when Guy came? And he said, "No, I'm here because Guy came." He said, "We get a 400% bump every time that they show it."
Wow.
Jump a couple years later, I'm in Nashville at a place called Bro's Cajun Cuisine. John Bro is the owner. In fact, when I was talking to him, his Cajun accent is so thick that it was almost hard to understand him. But he told me their bump was 800%. And just a few years ago, maybe about a year ago, I was told that it's like 1,200% now when they show. And Guy now says, on to some of the places at the end of their part of the show, says, "Watch out, they're coming," and that means me.
Or the
other ones.
Right.
And there's a couple of Facebook sites. There's the Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives site, and then there's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives with Guy Fieri site. There's 2 of them. A lot of the same people are in them. I happen to be the admin for one because they needed an admin. But there are people that every time they travel, they go to these places. There's a Guy always refers to the places as Flavortown USA or Flavortown. There's a Flavortown USA site that I'm not sure who keeps it up, but they will list all the places by state and by city. So I use that as a guide. I use Google Maps. So when I travel, I can get a list of where I need to go and where it is, and I'll look on Google Maps where they are, so I can sort of do a plot out a routing. Now I was out in Seattle, saw a high school friend when I was doing this, and she's like, she said to me, "Why haven't you done a blog?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to do a blog. How do you do a blog?" So she sent me this stuff, and another friend sent me some more information.
This
so
was
I started
in
a blog.
2009?
2009 when I met up with her and went to a place, but it wasn't until about 2011 that I started the blog.
Okay.
So, and now I've put about 70 installments. Every time I take a trip, I will. At first, I just wrote. I just wrote about it, and then her name's Kim, my friend. She said, "Why aren't you putting pictures?" Like, I will tell you, I'm not a computer person. How do you do that? So she sort of sent me instructions for doing it. So now I take pictures. I usually take a picture of what I ate and the sign of the place. And if somebody's signing a book or somebody's interesting, then I'll put them into the blog, and I'll send out the blog. So I've done. If you look at my blog, there are some episodes of my blog that are not Diners, Drive-Ins, Dives related, but travel related.
Sure.
But but I'd say, you know, all but maybe one or two are like that. So,
Okay.
and I've gotten some feedback. Kim's great on feedback. She's always sending me encouragement, so that helps me out. But I've gotten some feedback from just people from out of the blue that just happen to be reading it. So that's sort of nice too.
So when you're at these restaurants, do you order more than one dish to try, like, kind of sample, or you just stick with something that you know that you like? And
yeah, that's normally the way I do it. Some of the other people that travel, they will order what Guy got, and I do that sometimes. But and sometimes I'm doing when I'm doing these travel, I'm doing 4 or 5 places a day.
Mm-hmm.
So because of cost and because just too much food, I usually pick one place. If I'm doing like 3 or 4 in a day, I'll pick one place that I want to go for dinner, and I know what I want to get. So then the other ones, I might get an appetizer or something that he got, or a dessert, or I'll work it around that way.
Okay.
So you know, and I have the milestones, which are my 100th, my 200th, 300th, 400th, and I usually try and pick a place that for my milestone one that Guy liked, or like my 100th was a place in Miami called Benny's Seafood, and it was an interesting place. It's called Benny's Seafood, but it really could be called Benny's Puerto Rican cuisine because it's a Puerto Rican cuisine, and their specialty is mofongo, which is it's plantains, plantains and chicharrones, and it's like this huge wooden what do you call them? It's like a big ball bat and a big wood crate, and they put them in and they just bap it down, and then like I got mine with lobster on it, but you can get different toppings. And Benny came out with his wife, and they actually brought a drink, and we had a toast for my 100th, and Guy had really liked that place, and that was in the early season. So, and then I went 200. I was in Kansas City, and one of Guy's really good buddies that was on the show, now I travel with them, is a guy named Stretch, and he has a place called Grinders, and so had to go there, and it was really funny because the place down the street where I did 199 was a place called The Brick, and it was really loud and lively. They had this old timer, it looked like one of those old timer chuck wagon guys from the West, and he was playing all kinds of strange instruments. Like one was made out of a tennis racket, and one was made out of a pot and a pan, and it was really loud, really fun. So we went over to Grinders. We were meeting my friends' relatives there. It was really quiet. It was like subdued. So it was like, oh boy, what a letdown after the one to go to the other one. And Stretch wasn't there. He was out of town because he's now a celebrity chef. So he makes the rounds too. Okay. And then 300 was, I was out in Santa Barbara, and there's a place called Norton's Pastrami, and on the episode, this is why I made it, because on the episode, Guy was there with Dennis Miller, and Guy was there with his son. He has 2 sons. The older one's name is Hunter. The younger one's name is Ryder, and he was there with Hunter, and on the episode. And you know, Dennis Miller was being Dennis Miller. He asked if Hunter, if you ever seen his old man dye his hair and stuff like that. Big, huge pastrami dog that I got. It was really good. And then the 400th wasn't a big special place for Guy, but it was in Baltimore. And it was one place, and it was a place that I was hoping to invite friends to come up and we could do a celebration. And we did that in January. There's like 15 of us that went.
What's the name of that place?
It's called Slainte, but it's spelled like Slainte, S-L-A-I-N-T-E, but it's an Irish pub called Slainte. And it really, if you're into rugby or soccer, they show all the games. They're always sending out emails about what games are being shown. But we had about 15 people show, and the chef came out, and the chef's name is Neckbone. Big guy, and I'm a big guy. This guy makes me look little, and he raw tattoos all over his arm, and he had had Neckbone across his knuckles. So really nice guy, and he talked to everybody in our group. You know, he would talk to me for a long time, and then signed my book. You know, it was like
so they have Irish food, I take it?
Irish food, all kinds of stuff. It was actually on a soup. The episode that was on was called Soup Centric. So it was they have soups there too, and so that's what they made. But as I say, there are people that when they go, they will get only what Guy makes.
Orders, or,
There's a place in Baltimore called Di Pasquale's, and when you go in and you tell Mr. Di Pasquale why you're there, he goes, okay, sit down. And it's actually a deli and a little restaurant area. So you can buy stuff that is imported from Italy there. But so he has it already. So he knows, you know, it was an appetizer and then lasagna, and so if people go in there and that's like their menu. There's a place in St. Louis that does the same thing.
Wow.
They have a triple D menu. So you can go there and get what he made. Now, a lot of places will then put into the menu, they'll put, and this really is helpful, they'll put a little symbol, a little triple D symbol, so you know, because a lot of times I can't remember, so I'll say, please remind me what he got, what guy made, and then they'll go over it. But so there's been a lot of really fun stuff. You know, met a lot of really good people. The signing gets me to meet usually the chef or the owner, and they're as interested in my travels as I am, and I want to know about the tapings. I want to know, you know, what it was like, what he was like.
Do you ever tell them that you're blogging about them and you're taking pictures? And
Yeah, I don't really. They see me take pictures, but I don't really say I'm taking pictures. But I think they see me doing it. So usually, as soon as it comes, I take one.
You should probably tell them so they have like a good, you know.
There are some places that ask me to send information to them, and I've actually become Facebook friends with a couple of the owners. This place out in Colorado, in Brighton, Colorado, called Lauer Krauts. Robin is the owner. Her family is, they call them, they're almost like Kraut Burgers, but they're almost like buns that are filled with the meats and the goodies are inside, and it's a small place, really good, inexpensive, and Robin's like just like one of us. The whole staff there, you go in there and everybody's friendly. The whole town goes in there. It's maybe 5 or 6 seats, so it's a really small place, but really real good people.
Real
and
nice.
So
okay.
Yeah.
So how do you find time to do all this with your, you know, if you have a full-time job? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Normally,
and
people don't get to travel as much.
I'm fortunate. You know, I travel out on my days off, or get a couple extra days or something. I work for an airline, so
so you probably get.
I get really discounted or free flights. It's been tough lately because all the flights are always full, and I fly standby, but you know, I've been able to get around. A few years ago, a guy did his first Hawaii tour, did 7 places. So, like, I got to go out there. So I went out there for about a week and went to some really neat places. Went to this one called the Rainbow Drive-In. It's definitely a drive-in, and people are waiting in line, and they have Hawaiian plate lunches. And I you know, everybody looks at you know, seafood or whatever as the real Hawaiian thing, but you go to a place and get a plate lunch there, and it's usually a meat, and then it's a scoop of sticky rice and a scoop of macaroni salad, and that's a plate lunch. That if you get that when you're in Hawaii, you've gotten one of the things that the Hawaiian people eat. And when I was there, I was wearing the shirt from the high school I went to, and I guess the owner thought that I was maybe with a sports team. So I said, "Are you with whatever sports team?" And I said, "No, you know, I'm here because I came with the you know, to try a place. I'm doing diners out inside places." And so we were talking, and he said, "So do you come to Hawaii a lot?" I said, "No, but you know, when I do, I come standby." He goes, "Oh, you work for an airline?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." He said, "Which one?" I said, "The airline I work for." He said, "I worked for them. I retired. I was in customer service in Honolulu." So it was real nice guy, and he ended up giving me a T-shirt that says that says gravy all over, and that's the one thing they put gravy all over the plate lunch. So they had just had this new line of T-shirts. So, and I've gotten a couple places have given me T-shirts and stuff. A couple places have comped me. You know, I don't ask for any of this. I just you know, if they do it, you know, fine.
Right.
But you know, I'm not. I'm not, I'm not in for that. I just go to try different places, and it's and after I saw, as I going back to that couple that I saw with their 100th, there's something, it was just inside me, like I want to beat them, and so now I think I'm over 100 more than them. He's featured them a couple times, and people are always saying, "Have you met him?" or "Have you been on the show?" You? Yeah. Well, we've sent him emails, but we never got anything back.
Or do you ever find out like where he's going to be and when he's going to be there?
Not until it's already done.
Okay.
But on one of the Facebook sites, one of his crew members is on, and he usually posts as soon as they filmed in a place.
Oh, okay.
So last year I was really admired. I was stuck. I wasn't able to travel that much, and then all of a sudden I see on one of the sites, I see these places in Baltimore, like 5 places. I'm like, no, he hasn't gone there. I'm saying to myself, he hasn't gone there, and so this guy, he's on the crew. He said, we just filmed in Baltimore, and he posted 3 of the places. And what I found out is that they have 2 crews, and they each will do 3. At least in Baltimore, they did 3 places each. Okay. I don't know if that's how they do it all the time. He was there because they just opened a big casino, the Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore, and Guy has a restaurant in there. So he was there to open that.
Okay.
And then he
filmed 6 places. So you need to hang out there a little more often.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And so I went to these places. I went to and I had a list of like 3 or 4 places. So I went to one place, got signed, went to another place, and I said, have you been to Clementine's yet? The Clementine's, they're not on the list. Like, well, you better check it because they went to Clementine's right after here. So I went to Clementine's, and they had filmed there, and they had the stuff out. This guy wasn't on that crew. So and then I heard about Cilantro later, and after I'd gone all the places I thought were in Baltimore, I hadn't gone to Cilantro. I'm like, you know what? I'm near enough to 400 that I can actually do this where I can do a place with friends at 400. The other times I've had a little like celebration afterwards at a place in D.C. There's a place in D.C. called Comet Ping Pong. It's up almost near Chevy Chase Circle. It's right next to there's a bookstore, a famous bookstore called Politics and Prose. Okay. It's right next to it. It's in the same little strip mall. And I've gotten to know I went there the first time. It was like my 68th place I went to. And so I called them and said, I just did 100. I'd like to celebrate on a Saturday. And they go, well, we don't normally do groups on Saturdays, but this is pretty big, so we'll have you come in. So I've gone there twice. And it's a really neat place. If you want to go up there, it's the brick oven pizzas and the guys in the ping pong table. So he's got 6 ping pong tables. So and all the tables are that you sit at look like ping pong tables. They're green with the white stripes. And when we were
little paddle so you can play while you're waiting for your food.
They're not big enough, but the ping pong tables are always in use in the back. They're in the back. There's ping pong. So instead of pool tables, there's ping pong tables.
Right.
And when we were in there one time, Ted Koppel came in. So I can tell you that Ted Koppel likes his pizzas and he likes his ping pong, because he was there. So do
they have a certain style of pizza that they sell?
No, it's a brick oven. So they make. Well, he has the regular style, but he has one called the aioli, which is caramelized onions and not oysters, but clams.
Okay.
And while they were filming, the guy was eating the clams up so much that they had to keep making more of them. So in my travels, I get to talk to the owners, and I found out that guy does not like eggs, and he has shown in the last few episodes he really does not like eggs. In fact, the Cilantro, the chef, because one of the dishes he did have egg on it, he said he made sure that the egg was put to the side, so he really does not like eggs.
Wow.
He loves his hash. The guy loves his hash. He loves Cuban food. I've been to a few Cuban places where they said that the one meal that they make is guy. It looks like that he eats all this stuff like he really only eats to taste. But at the Cuban place, they've always said he keeps it off to the side so he can keep going for it. So he really likes the Cuban food, from what I gathered.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, are there any other places local here that you've gone to?
Yeah, he has not done too many in the direct Washington area. He's done La Caraneca, which is in Falls Church. It's in, and I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but it's in the Stratford Hotel. There's a little hotel in Falls Church called the Stratford. If you're going to go there, make a reservation. It holds only about 25. It's Venezuelan and Peruvian cuisine. I went there on a Wednesday night, and I was by myself. It's the only way I got in because they had all the reservations. They have a table for one, so it's really good. Then in Arlington, there's the Metro 29 Diner. It's a big old silver diner,
Sure.
just like New Jersey diners. And I've been there several times now. And actually, when we celebrated my 50th birthday, we celebrated it there, and they gave us part of the room, and we had a big celebration there. Okay. So, in Washington, on Capitol Hill, there's a place called the Tune In. It's a burger joint, and they say we are a dive bar and proud of it. That's what the owner said. Okay. We are a dive bar and proud of it. On the Eastern Market, there's a Tortilla Cafe. Again, another Venezuelan, Central American type cuisine. And if Guy made fun of the owner and the chef. She said totally, and so he kept using totally the whole time. So when I went there, I said that, and she knew what I was talking about. But there's a soul food place I've been to a few times. In fact, I was just there the other night, called Oohs and Ahs. It's at U Street. It's at the U Street Metro. So you get off out of the U Street Metro by the African American Civil War Memorial, and it's right there. And great. Really, really nice people in there. Just met the chef the other night, and met the other owner.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I hate to cut this short, but we have to. It's time to end the show.
Okay.
So, but thank you so
good.
much for joining us.
Sure.
And your blog, people can find your blog at?
It's on the blogger.com site, and it's called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives Adventures. Okay.
And your next adventure will be your number
401. Not sure. There's another place in Baltimore, but he's been doing some Atlantic City places, so they're not that far away. And maybe fly out to Des Moines. He's done a bunch of Des Moines places.
Okay,
so
great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And if you're just tuning in now, make sure you catch us on the web at www.potluck-online.org. And we'll see you next time.